On the net guy, that's what you call a cold open. We'll see. We got a couple people already queued up in waiting in the room. Thank you guys. It's a very exciting day today. It is launch day for a new Wyze product. Actually, probably one of the newest, neatest Wyze products I've tested in a while. And it's not because, it's like super groundbreaking in any one direction. Like it's an incremental improvement on the camera, obviously. There's now an integrated spotlight. That's cool. The power draw on this thing is minuscule, which is something else we'll talk about. The Wi-Fi range, it's interesting. There's a whole topic we'll get into about that. It doesn't pan and tilt itself, but the price stayed exactly the same. So you're getting a better camera for the same price as you used to pay for a V3. So we're going to talk about all that. Scott's here. I'm this just proving it's an absolutely live show. He says, "Hello there. I'd love to know the difference between the V4 and the V3 Pro." Well, guess what? I have a ton of these available. So there is your Pro, and here is your new V4. They look very, very similar. I would say they're cousins in a way, but we'll talk exactly what those are. This is an absolutely live show. You guys make it what it is. Ask me those questions. We're going to go through all of the things that I know. Normally I have a launch day video, but it's been a weekend. I had to build an entire bed for my daughter. She's getting her new room and we wanted to do a loft bed. We had somebody lined up to build it and then they got sick. And so I ended up spending the whole weekend in the shop. But what was funny is I was actually able to put a time lapse together with the V4 camera because I got it late last week. I've been playing with it all weekend. There's some things that I sent off to the product development. I'll be honest. There's a couple things that weren't working exactly the way I thought they should, and we can cover those as well. So it's going to be a great show. I see you guys are filling in. I'm going to add one other quirk to this. I'm going to try to go live on TikTok. That is if my camera will reach. So I literally have not done this before, but I'm going to get us going live on TikTok. It could work. It could be really bad, but we're going to find out. So I want to make sure that everybody gets to see this. So we're going to change the title of this show to be, let's change it out here. We're deleting. Yeah, you get to see how the sausage is made. And I have to spell Wyze right. So Wyze V4 launch day stream. Okay. And then I'm going to add a product because I just added the B4 into this. So I'm going to add a new product. This is one product that's in here. So in case anybody wants to pick one up, they can do that. And looks good. And then we're going to say go live. Agree and go live. Okay. So this should work if I don't drop my phone. That's the important thing. Hey, everybody. Hopefully you guys can all hear me. This is John the Net Guy. We are checking out the Wyze Cam V4. This is the gray, and right here is the white one, just so you guys can all see the same thing. I'm going to bring you guys over here. This is kind of the TikTok view, except instead of vertical, you're horizontal if you're looking on the GoPro side. But hopefully you guys can all see that. We're going to go through them. I've got a lot of neat stuff to show you, but welcome if you're joining me on TikTok. So we are on a lot of services. There is one last service behind me that I got to turn on here, and that is for Amazon. So if everything works right, there's going to be a duplicate of my show behind me going, and we're going to stream that over to Amazon so the people on Amazon can actually start to see this show as well. And once we get that set up, I'll get into the content because there's a lot of questions about this camera, and we'll go through the basics of what's new in it, what you can expect out of it, and then I'll give you more about what I think about it. So here we go. We're going live on Amazon. So thank you guys for tuning in. I know Wyze is also live right now, so thanks. And I'm going to try to do my best to answer your questions, but there are a ton of you from a bunch of different services. So ask away in whatever service you can, and I'm going to do my very best to answer across the board. So initial first impressions of a Wyze Cam V4. So unboxing this thing. It's the standard V3, V4, V3 Pro packaging. It's a standard Wyze Cam. There is no PTZ control on this one, so you're going to have to, position this where you want. There is one negative on the picture compared to the V3, which is the field of view, 115 degrees roughly, 116 versus 130. So you're going to see that in some of the pictures, and I'm going to point it out where it's a little bit narrower. I don't really think that's going to be a big deal, to be honest. There's a couple other interesting things about it. The sensor in it, in this one, actually borrows the same style of sensor. I don't think it's the same tuning of, and I'm going to bring you guys over here. This is the V3 Pro. So that question already came up. They said, okay, so V3 Pro, this hand, sorry, I got to get this right. And the V4, how are they different? How are they the same? Well, obviously the front is jet black on this. The back here is another interesting thing. They borrowed this little dongle on the back, and then this one is recessed on the Pro. What's interesting about that is this is very reminiscent of the V3. There's only one drawback here, which is you could not fit a lot of aftermarkets in the Pro, and the Pro has double the power consumption. So Pro needed a 2 amp power brick. This one still has the 1 amp power brick, and I'll show you what's interesting. I've got a little tester we can play with. So that's the difference just from a power and physical size, nearly identical. I have a picture that's going up in my review of all three of the cameras. Here's another one. So here's a V3, a V3 Pro, and a V4 all next to each other. You really, unless you were looking, you couldn't tell the difference. The size, almost identical. I'd be interested if some of those window clings that they have are actually going to work as well. So they've got a bunch of window items. So we said the power is going to be better, the power consumption. It's going to have the 2.5K sensor or 2.5K. What does that mean? So when they say HD or full HD or 2.5K, those are all just the number of dots across and the number of dots down. So, hey, I got a couple of people I got to say hi to. Hey, Zach in there saying hi in the YouTube chat. And I'm looking at a couple. Paul has just said hi. I bought 2 of them today. So, Paul, you're getting the bell. If you guys buy them during the show, just so you know, on Amazon or any of the others, I get a very tiny single-digit commission, but it helps keep the studio lights on. So I appreciate that. Coalition Chris says, I still have the V1 in my patio. It doesn't do as well as night as the newer ones. Okay, night vision, incredible on all these. I'm going to show you the nighttime views of these, and you're going to be blown away. It really makes me think I need to get a mole person to work on my yard because we've got mole holes everywhere. For some reason, they show up like pockmarks at night. But the cameras, the night vision performance on this is absolutely fantastic. A great question here. So Jonathan talks hardware. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. He asks, Type C, no micro USB? This is actually micro USB still. So let's talk about what that connector looks like. So you could heard that little pop. There's the connector right there. Get you guys in the GoPro world. I'm trying to do the TikTok and GoPro angle at the same time. So if you look at that, and I initially, when I unboxed it, I was like, they didn't go USB-C. What a miss. What a big opportunity was wasted by not going USB-C. And then I was thinking about it. It's like, if you bought their outdoor power adapter or any of the extended power cables that are out there on Amazon that you can pick up, and then they switched to this great, wonderful camera and went to USB-C, none of those accessories, none of the other stuff that you would have wanted to work with would have worked with this. The other thing is the Wyze lamp socket. That's the big thing. So your Pro was technically never going to work with the lamp socket. It's one of the easiest ways to add an outdoor camera when you have an existing light and you can control the socket. Well, this took too much power. So they technically work. I've been using one on my porch forever. So this one at 2 amps power draw, the Pro, was about $60 camera. They just dropped it to $45. This one comes in with almost exactly the same specs, half the power draw, and it's going to be a lot cheaper, and it runs with the socket. It also uses the socket. So that was pretty cool. So I see a bunch of live event notices on here on TikTok. So that's pretty cool. Looking in here, the AI person detection on board is another question here from Matthew. He says he's looking forward to that. So a couple interesting things about that. And this comes back to the Cam Plus subscription, which everybody freaks out about. This is one of the only manufacturers, if we're going to be honest, out there that still allows you to record locally. So if I were to pick a random competitor sample like this Blink camera that I have, the price on this, ridiculously cheap, but the engineering on it is much more inferior. You look at it. So yeah, maybe it's a little bit smaller for the Blink, but again, doesn't have all the articulation and capability that the Wyze Cam does, doesn't have all of the app control, doesn't have the edge AI, person detection, all that stuff built into the camera, which is going to give you faster notifications and all that. The other thing about this, not waterproof, and waterproofing is very hard to do properly. The plug's got some gasketing. This is really indoor only, if we're being honest. Wyze has really captured the market of the waterproof camera. So V4 versus Blink, toss the Blink out, get yourself a V4. But the Blink doesn't have onboard storage for their cameras. You end up having to get, and I'm just going to go down here and yank mine out, and it's going to be really unhappy with me. You have to go buy this Blink sync module to get the Blink camera to store. Then you've got to buy a USB key of some sort or theirs. And then you got to plug this in. And I've had nothing but trouble trying to get it to store locally. Wyze has been a pioneer in allowing you to store to micro SD card here. And the funny thing about this is they've gone up to 512 gigs, which they're going to need to because the storage is going to be a little bit going faster, because you're actually getting about 88% more pixels at 2.5K resolution, 4 megapixel, versus the other one, which is about 2 megapixel resolution. So you're almost completely doubling the number of dots when we do that. So let's go ahead and take a quick look. I'm going to bring you guys back here in the studio. I'm going to take a quick look at some of the photos and just let you guys see the difference. So I don't have the side-by-sides, but I'm going to swap back and forth here. And I'll let you guys kind of decide here. So let me see the best way to do this. I don't know if it's actually going to show me the file name. Yes. Oh, it will. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and show you this. We're just going to bring this up across the board. Sorry if you guys are on TikTok. I'm actually showing on my YouTube channel right now. That's youtube.com/thenetguy. Hello on Amazon there if you're watching. So what we're doing right now is we're taking a look at the V3 night vision. So this is the night vision sample outdoors. And it's good. You know, this is without any sort of spotlight capability. This is just standard IR night vision here. If I go back here, this is the color night vision, which was game changing, instrumental in the V3. Now you're going to have to be a pixel peeper, they call it. And I don't know if I can. Oh, I can. When you start looking into the grass and looking into these areas, the detail in the V3 just kind of goes away. It's only a 1080p image. It's really like a impressionist painting. It's just a bunch of blocks, right? So you don't really get a lot of detail in there. We're going to go back a little bit here. So this is, again, another V3 shot at night. There's a little bit more contrast on this one. Now we're going to go into the V3 Pro with the spotlight on. Okay, I just want to point you out to the grass. Okay, you're starting to see a little bit more definition. The spotlight has filled in that plant that you see right there, has now got some data, some detail into it. And again, this is not a very big spotlight in here that we're looking at. I'm going to zoom all the way out so I go to the next picture. So that's still the same one. This is the V3 Pro without any sort of light. This is just the color night vision on the V3 Pro. So grass detail, so much better. That's what the 2.5K, 2.5K resolution is giving you, is that fine detail. You can go up there and you can see the leaves. You can see I've got a missing fence board I got to talk to my neighbor about. So you can start to see all of that detail in here, and you're starting to see color. My neighbors keep their lights on in their back porch all night, and that's enough to show off in here. Now we're going to come back to the other one. Give me 1 second. I'm going to go all the way to the V4. Got to skip over these. Give me 1 second here. Oh, do I not have the night vision? I don't have the night vision photos on here. Sorry, guys. I'm going to do that real quick here. We're going to do sample interior photos because that's going to be very, very similar. And I'm just going to give you 3 shots here because these are really, really telling about the quality. So we're taking a look here. This is the original of the V3. Now it's a 1080p photo. 1080p being full HD, so that's 1920 dots by 1080 dots tall. It's about 2,000 pixel, or sorry, not 2,000, 2 million pixels if you do the math on that. So there's 2 million pixels in this image. When we talk about dynamic range and field of view, I want to point out 2 things. I tried to get the images as close as I possibly could here that we're looking at. If you go to this corner, you can kind of see into my closet there. And if you go into this corner of the image, you can kind of see just to the left of these 3 paintings. So that's important. That's going to be your field of view test. And so when we're looking at the field of view, I tried to keep that general view. But when you look out here to the counters, to the tile backsplash, to everything, the image just falls apart. Now, the V3 camera has one of the best sensors that was out there 3-4 years ago when it came out. So it's been really good. Hey, welcome if you're just joining on the TikTok. This is John the Net Guy. We are live right now on TikTok and all the other services. We're checking out the Wyze Cam. This is the V4, and this is the V4 in white. Now, if you're asking, what are you talking about, John? What are you pointing to? I'm live on my YouTube channel, and I'm actually showing the images. So they're seeing these on YouTube and some of the other services. So we're taking a look here, and you'll see that this image is really kind of blown out. There's not a lot of detail there. The window is completely white. The cabinets are completely white. I'm going to show you the difference in these images, just image to image. You're going to see this real quick. So this is the V3 interior shot. I'm going to zoom out. This is the V3 Pro. Now, things have automatically gotten a little bit different. One, you don't see that closet anymore. So I pointed out the field of view difference. So the right side is gone. If I bring you over here, you're going to notice that we're a little closer to the paintings. I tried to use that as my marker, but now we can start to see more detail. We can start to see things that are on that back tile there that we were talking about. Can't make the text out on the bread box. It kind of says bread, maybe you could figure that out. You can see that there's a window there. Now notice that the cabinets are still blown out. So this is coming from their $60, now $45 camera. You're getting this image. Now it's a good image. It is also 2.5K resolution. The color is good. I'll point you out to one other thing when we talk about quality. Check the stitching on the Lazy Boy, because you got to have a Lazy Boy. That's the stitching on my content consumption Lazy Boy recliner, and you can see that there's some nice stitching on that. So that's the detail level that you're getting out of the V3 Pro. You got a little student driver sticker over there. That's coming up here on a future show. We've got a student driver in the house. I'm going to go to the V4. Now I just switched. I'm going to go back here from V3 Pro. Sorry, it just zipped on us. To this is the V4. Now, right away, there's a couple things you'll notice. The field of view narrowed a tick more. So we're at 215 degrees. So if I look on this side, I don't see the closet anymore. I just start to see the corner of the stairs. If I come all the way to the other side of the image, I'm touching the side of those paintings. So I'm definitely cutting the image down. Now, other people are gonna be like, well, I want that 160. I want that 180 field of view with the floodlight. Now, remember something about optics and cameras. The wider your field of view, the less detail you're going to get in the images. So if you narrow the field of view, if we're to pick on the OG series, this is the Wyze Cam OG. I'm going to bring you guys back here for a second. So this is the OG stacker kit. We've got the original, and then we got the telephoto up here. That telephoto is like a 23-degree field of view. It's super narrow, but it can stretch out and bring that image towards you. You get a whole bunch more detail. So when I say that the V4 has a narrower field of view, it just means that you're not going to get as wide. And to some people, this is going to be a deal breaker. You're not going to get as wide of an angle on the shot. But let's talk about what the things that's doing really, really well is. So let's go back to that sample image. I'm looking at the other side. Now, there's detail in these cabinets. You can actually see the detail. Is it perfect? No, but it was a bright, sunny day outside. I had the lights on everywhere. I'm starting to see detail in areas that would previously in the image be blown out. So that is what wide dynamic range is about. The other thing is you can sometimes do that by just making the overall image darker. But I would challenge you between these two images, if you could pick if one is darker than the other. I think the exposure is almost exactly the same. Specifically, I'm looking underneath here. This is our counter. It's a blue color. And just to give you a comparison, if I go all the way back here, so this is the original V3, and we look at that stitching, there's no stitching there in the V3. You don't even get to see the individual stitches. You are just seeing, lines there. Now, if we come here to the V3 Pro, we're going to get to actually see the stitching. If we go onto the V4, now what's interesting is the color shifted a little bit. We still get the stitching. It's not as defined, at least in this picture, as it is. And the black colors in the image are still black. So it didn't just, again, shift the blacks up or the brightness is down. So I'm going to go back in here to the Q&A, and I'm just going to get some questions just to see. A couple quick questions. Drew said, ordered the V4 today. Time to upgrade one of my V2s. If you have a V2, this is a fantastic upgrade. The price, if you're looking on TikTok, let me know what you're paying on TikTok for this, by the way. You can shout it out in the comments. I'll see if I can get you about that. But the price for this one on Amazon right now, which is what we're broadcasting to, $35.98. That's available in the video description if you want to purchase it from Amazon. It may be available elsewhere for different prices, but that's the one I'm contractually obligated with Amazon to say. I'm going to just take a quick look. John Hardwick on Amazon, say sup. Hey, John, thanks for watching. And let's go back here. So, Drew, you're going to get a ding of the bell. Thank you so much for ordering your V4 today. Everybody that orders a V4 today gets a ding on the bell. Ron Moore was commenting, says, Starlight sensor for the win. Awesome. And Sir Smoke a Lot, what a name. I don't know if I'm allowed to put that on the air. Says, oh, that's why the V4s were so, or V3s were so cheap lately. Yeah, that's usually what happens, you know, when you're blowing something out. So the V3 Pro was definitely on sale recently. So we talked a little bit about image quality inside. I'm going to show you a couple videos here. You're going to see maybe one of the things that I think they're going to be working on. Just so, you know, just pure transparency. I'm showing you everything I possibly can about this. So I'm going to do samples interior video real quick. This is a little bit harder to show. Give me 1 second. And this is going to be a different angle. So these are actual video files, and these are as they're captured from the item there. So you can see there, there's an image here from the V3. It's kind of as everyone would expect, right? So that's the V3 image. If I do the video from the V3 Pro, same kind of story. It's a little bit clearer, looks just like the camera normally does, right? And so this is an interesting view. Again, looks really well balanced. I can't complain about that video from a security video footage perspective. That's great. This is an interesting one here. Check a look at the TV. You see that flicker go by on the TV? There's one thing that I'm running into right now, and I've been working on with them. Certain LED lights were messing with the frame rate, and we're trying to figure out what that is. So I've sent some information off to their engineers. They're going to work it out. They'll figure it out. I think I've seen this before in certain Wyze cameras. So that's something to be mindful of. I'm going to take a look here real quick if I have a time-lapse video that I can share with you. 1 second. Oh yeah, I have a video that I could share with you guys real quick. So I actually was able to take the V4 and do something kind of fun with it. I built that bed for my daughter that I mentioned. Well, as I was putting it together, I had it done all in the shop, and I'd sent some teasers out to people. I brought it in the house and I did a time lapse. So I want to show you that real quick. This is what that time lapse looked like. So I was just attaching this new loft bed for her. She has a little bunny. If you guys follow my channel, you've probably seen some of the bunny stuff. So I built this whole thing from scratch, and I put the V4 in a corner, and I just said, record a time lapse. And then I had to go fix a couple boards because I cut them a little long. And then I fixed them all up here. So my wife helped me, and my daughter and son, they went up there, loved it. We got that working. There's me trying to put everything together. So these cameras are great if you want to do some sort of time lapses. I've done these for our landscapers. We had a bunch of concrete poured, and I did a time lapse with a Wyze Cam. You just set it up outside, put it on a power bank, or do whatever you need. And that was an awesome feature. So we talked a little bit about image quality differences. So I'm looking to see in the questions if there's any questions on there. And hi, everybody. I see a bunch of you there on TikTok. I wish I knew more about TikTok. I wanted to go live here. I wanted to give you a chance to ask questions. If you have any questions on the TikTok side, just let me know. We're taking a look at, and I'm trying to get them the right direction, the two different V4s. We've got the V4 in gray and the V4 in white. Let me know what you think about the gray one. I'm going to talk about that here for just a second. The gray one right here has an interesting feature. If you see on the bottom, it has a black base and it has these black covers. Now, if you think about the previous Wyze product lines, like this one, they had in white for the V3 pan, and then this other V3 pan is in black. So they had special editions that are in black. And, you know, I've really liked those from a security perspective because you just don't see them. You don't have to worry about something, you know, getting seen. If you're trying to put these surreptitiously somewhere, black is a great color. White kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. It's different. You know, I've seen a lot of Mercedes out there that are just kind of this, you know, pewter gray color, and it's not the one I would buy, but it is very different. So let me know what you think about the gray color there. I'm going to bring it up close to both you guys so you can see it. I am going to talk about power draw because that was something that's going to allow you or limit you from using this. Jonathan Talks Hardware comes in and says, Wait, you can do a time lapse on the Wyze cams? Absolutely, you can. Yeah, it's one of the features. Just go in there and slide to the right or left. I guess slide the toolbar of buttons. A lot of people don't know that that toolbar slides many times, and time lapse is one of the options. So you set the 2 time periods, and you can end it early if you want. And what's funny is you can actually change some of the settings on the camera while it's running. But great question, Jonathan Talks Hardware. So very nice to know. I am going to pull some nerdy stuff out here. So I have this really cool feature I'm going to show you guys. This is a USB power meter. And what it's going to do is it's going to tell us how much power each camera is utilizing. So I'm going to pull the power out here, and we're going to make sure I get this in the right direction. Okay, it's firing up right now. Hopefully you guys can see that. So it's 4.8 volts coming out. I'm going to try to put it so where you guys can both see it. So 4.8 volts at literally 0.15 amps. Now, if you guys were tuned in last week, you'll know that I was doing a bunch of cool solar stuff and power drain and power draw, especially if you're going to be doing any sort of mobile or solar or battery operated stuff, or maybe you just want to set up a power bank. This thing is minuscule. I don't know if you can see that, but it has a 1.2 watt power draw. 1.2 watt is like the corner marker bulb on your old vehicle. And that was probably 5 watts, honestly. So these things are pulling such little power. So that's this one. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the camera in the Wyze app so you kind of see what it looks like live. I can set it anywhere. We can do this. I'm going to just set it up here. There we go. It's already up and online. I'm going to pull my Wyze app up. I see a couple of you guys are already checking out and playing on Amazon. Very nice to see you here. And I'm going to bring the Wyze app up, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to make the spotlight come on, because that's the #1 power draw we can get, right? So pulling this up for us right now. Of course, I had the Wyze app up, so now I got to close it. I was deep down into some menu pages. Okay, here we go. I'm going to go into our test cameras. And I should have a video feed here in a second. I'll share that with you guys right now. So hopefully you guys are seeing me live-ish. There we go. You can see my live video. Now, my studio lights are super challenging for any camera. I've got different colors. I got lots of light. So they really don't balance out well. So don't use this as a thing of color. But if we come down here, you can see the time-lapse feature. This is what you were talking about, Jonathan Talks Hardware. You can hit that button and you can start a time lapse. You set the start and stop in the interval. I wish the interval went below 3, because it only has 3 seconds as the low. And so what is that? If we do the math, that's a frame every 3 seconds. So every minute you're getting 20 frames. So it's about a 60th or 60 times the speed. I'm also here at the 2K resolution. If I hit the resolution, I can change my preview resolution so you guys can see that here. Demon Monteverde, he says, different color choice is a good, nice option. Absolutely. Yeah, I would absolutely say that. It is nice to have something a little bit different sometimes. I'm also thinking if you have maybe a gray room, the gray one might blend in better, or a gray cabinet or something you're putting it on. So that's kind of cool. So I just wanted to show you here. So we're looking at the power draw. Now it's not going to be able to go above, and I'm just looking real quick here at the mode. I might have hit a few buttons on here. Yeah, this thing is actually really slick because it will tell you the complete voltage history. So I'm going to bring this up for you guys on the computer. So it's actually showing us the voltage history. If you have a bad USB power supply, this thing will tell you if the power supply is not putting out correct voltage. I'm going to go next. I'm going to get us back to the screen we want. So right now, this thing's using about 1.5 watts. So it's using 300 milliamps. Now, this power brick is good for 1,000 milliamp hours. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the spotlight feature of it. So when I turn that spotlight on, boom, I've got some light coming in now. You guys can see that that's running. That's the spotlight in it. 840 nanometers, the product manager from Wyze said. I heard that earlier on the show. But what we can see here is now, if I bring this up, you guys can see we're using 500 milliamps at 5 volts. So it's kind of boosted that up. That's 2.5 watts. That is so low. You have to remember, this thing's got a Wi-Fi 6 antenna in it. So it's transmitting data. It's got 2.5K pixel resolution. So it's got a bigger sensor, more pixels to calculate. It's got a faster CPU than they've ever had before. Larger memory, larger storage. It's recording constantly. So it's doing all of that in 2.5 watts. I think turning on the inverter in my boat uses 20 watts. So it's like having at least 6 or 7 of these running all the time. Now, if I do the siren, again, headphone warning, if you guys are watching, I'm just going to watch it here. I'm going to see if adding the sound also bumps this up. It did. It's going about 700 milliamps. So I turned the siren off. That's turned it off. Sorry, guys, for headphone warning there. But yeah, so maximum draw that I saw in here, if it'll track that, was 700 milliamps on there. So it's not even a full amp, which is what this is providing. Now we can test an alternative to this if we want to take our Pro, which is, again, this is the reason the Pro couldn't work with the socket, was because of that. We'll talk about that power draw here next. And let me know more about what you guys, this is a completely live show. I'm just kind of going through all the different things. I am going to pull up the Wi-Fi signal strength next so you guys can see that. But let's go ahead and we'll do apples to apples comparison. So I'm just plugging this one in right now. So it's about 100 milliamps now. This is the first time I've done this test. So it is just booting up the CPU on this V3 Pro. So we're comparing and contrasting. The old one, it hovered around 200 milliamps. There it goes. So now this one's 200 milliamps. There's about 400 there for a second. And we're seeing the total amperage draw of this. So if you are doing, a battery pack, that's another interesting thing, is if you have a solar solution and you have a battery pack, you could run a Wyze Cam for a very long time when you're pulling 1.5, 2 watts on there. So that's something to think about. I'm going to check real quick on the Amazon, make sure we don't have any questions. And let me know on TikTok if you have any questions. And if you're on TikTok, there's a bunch of links around. You may want to take a look at them. And thank you guys. I encourage you to follow me on any platform that you're watching right now. I'm going to turn this monitor off so it doesn't distract us. There we go. I'm going to take a sip. One of the most important things, and something I think we can do while this thing's booting up and stabilizing, if you're just joining, I have, and we'll bring the TikTok guys around as much as I can. I have the wall of Wyze here. And guess what I got in my Wyze Cam? There it is. This is the badge for the V4. So you can see I've got a few Wyze products that I've been collecting here. We're going to go ahead and put the V4 in its rightful place. We got the home monitoring, floodlights, locks, V3 Pro, OG. Oh my gosh. OG Telephoto had its own sticker. So we are legit now. We've got that. So we're going to come back here and take a look at the power draw in a second. Okay, taking a look at the chat for questions. No questions on there. So now my Pro is fired up, and you'll look at the resting power draw on the Pro. So that's 5 volts. That's going to be 300 milliamps. So it's about 1.5 right there, resting power draw. Let's go ahead and turn on its spotlight, and we will see what it draws. So it can draw up to 2 amps with the faster CPU and other features that it had. So I'm going into my test cameras. Give you guys a little view. This is kind of funny. I'll show you something funny. So you see in that that device is offline on the V3 V4 down there. That V4 I actually used to film at the very bottom of the screen a Amazon video for a pair of blinds that was going to be on the show tonight, but we skipped that show. So that was kind of funny, is I was actually able to use it to record video. I'm going to go in here to the test V3 Pro. I'm going to go ahead and turn the light on. Now this has got a bright spotlight built into it. So I'm turning the spotlight on, and we're going to take a look at the power drain, and a very similar power drain. So maybe they were very conservative in their estimation of this. Now, this one also has an SD card. It has a siren. I'm going to do the siren. So headphone warning real quick. Now that bumped up to 800 milliamp hours there at 5 volts. So 800 milliamps, and it's sending notifications and doing all that stuff right now. So a little bit more power on the Pro, but again, fantastic solutions when it comes to reducing overall power draw. And the image quality, again, all of these are going to be challenged in my studio, you can see, but a lot of pixelation still going on there. Let's talk about Wi-Fi now. I didn't set the Wi-Fi to the Wi-Fi 6 range, but that is one other unique thing that this has. So if you're looking at and you have a Wi-Fi 6 solution at home and you want to add these, what is Wi-Fi 6 going to bring you? Well, Right now, if you ever remember like old CB radios, and I'm dating myself really badly here, but if you remember like old CB radios, people used to key up or to transmit, and they would walk on top of each other, and they, it would cause all sorts of issues. And the airtime on a CB channel was limited. It's the same thing for Wi-Fi. So if you get in a really, really busy area and you are an apartment building or a high density situation, you can have a lot of Wi-Fis that are competing with each other for that airtime. And it's really, really frustrating because you'll have a very good internet connection. You'll have a nice mesh Wi-Fi system. And even when you're mesh, if you don't have a wired backhaul in there, that's also getting transmitted and retransmitted. And by the time you get to the end of it, this congestion around you, this noise is kind of like locusts everywhere. All these packets are going that you can't see, and they're getting sent all over. Oh, look at this. I got a TikTok universe gift. Thank you guys. I don't know what that was, but and Missing Hawk, thank you so much for the follow over there on TikTok. You get the bell. Thank you for that. I really do appreciate it. So yeah, now back, where was I? I just got totally distracted. I saw, saw that item there. We'll get back to it. So yeah, airtime fairness. So what Wi-Fi 6 does is it plans how the airtime is going to be used a whole lot better. So instead of all these devices, low power devices, high power devices, all trying to transmit at the same time, all stepping on each other, there's algorithms now that do airtime fairness. So this is the first Wyze product that I know of, other than their routers, which they released about a year ago, that actually do airtime fairness. So what that means is if you want to put 20 or 30 of these on your network that are streaming video, they're creating noise, essentially air traffic, they're going to plan that traffic better and send them in bursts and do things to make that a lot better. So airtime fairness is one of the biggest things of Wi-Fi 6, is it also cleans up in very dense environments. Do you need it? No. And I have actually been using solely the Wi-Fi 4 bands on purpose so that I can show you that. Let me go here. If you guys do follow me on Twitter, you will have seen a couple posts. I did post some sample images. Give me 1 second. I'm going to get over to my Twitter account, and I'm going to see if I can make this in dark mode so you guys don't see, like, blow your eyes out here. Come on now. Display. Lights out. Let's do that. Okay, cool. I'm going to make it in dark mode just so you guys can see. So I'm going to go back over here to my Twitter page. So if you're following me on the YouTubes right now or Amazon, you can see this. There's the battery monitoring show we did last week. There's the live stream going out there on the Twitter. There's the link to it. There's a couple of examples. What I'm getting to is this. This image right here is super important, and I'm going to try to zoom it in as much as I can for you guys. So this is talking about the Wi-Fi performance of the V3, the V3 Pro, and the V4. So a couple things about these, and let's just talk about them individually. So the V3 has a Wi-Fi 4 2.4 gigahertz wireless chip in it. So it's only going to be able to use the most basic of Wi-Fi bands, which is great because it's available everywhere. And it's only going to use the Wi-Fi 4 protocols, the technology. So that's great. The other thing that's different, the V3 Pro is not a 5 gigahertz as well. It's still only going to be that 2.4, but it adds MIMO. So MIMO is multi-in, multi-out. It's really simple. So MIMO adds the multi-in, multi-output. What that's going to allow it to do is have 2 channels for sending data, 2 channels for receiving data. So again, in a congested area, it can do different things, use different bands, which is awesome. So that's a little bit better. Now, from a performance perspective, what we're seeing on the screen here, the green line that seems to be higher just means a higher overall signal strength. So in my testing, and these change constantly, I'm trying to get the same cameras, and most of these I think were all brand new out of the box. I think my V3 was just one that we used in here for a few minutes for prior shows. So I tried to be as absolutely fair as I possibly could in the demonstration, and I put this data together. It's good, plus or minus 5 dB, so take that with a grain of salt. But basically the V3 Pro has an excellent radio in it. It worked really well in my tests. Anything above about 75 dB is usable. And even the equipment that I was measuring with this said it was a good signal. When you start getting past 75 into the 80 and you're trying to push data, doesn't really work as nicely. So that was a problem. So basically, when the numbers that I'm seeing here say that out to about 60 feet, these things are neck and neck. So I'm holding the V3 here and I'm holding the V4. The V4 with the Wi-Fi 6 though, which I have a Wi-Fi 6 equipment. I didn't want to, apples and orange comparison. If I put this on the Wi-Fi 6, it would gain all of the benefits that we just talked about of the Wi-Fi bands. So out to 60 feet with one wall, obstruction. So these could be maybe 120 feet out in the clear. The numbers were perfect. After that, there was a small dip, and I tested it multiple times. I don't know why, but at the 75-foot range, maybe it was some competing Wi-Fi signals. Maybe it was something. But the V4 dipped a little bit, still looked great. And then when I went out further to the 120 feet was the max. This was at the end of my driveway and my access points down in the garage. That's how I can measure these easily. When I got to that was the limit, about 75 dB on almost all of these. And the V3 still is just venerable. It had a good solid connection and it just held on to it. So that's the good news overall. I'm taking a quick look here. Extravaganza. I see a bunch of other stuff. Like I'm seeing all this stuff pop up on TikTok and I have no idea what it does. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. Is the Wi-Fi on this is good. I had no problems necessarily with the signal strength. I did have one issue, which I reported, and they're going to take a look at it, about hopping between my brand. And I don't know if I needed to enable fast roam or disable it, but I was having a problem with it not jumping from AP to AP. So hopefully they'll take a look at that. Hopefully we'll know what's causing that. And we'll get back to that soon. So I'm taking a quick look here at the chat to see if anything. Oh, Jonathan Talks Hardware says, you missed my question earlier. Type it again one more time for me, Jonathan. I will answer it. Is it possible to compare the night vision between the V3 and the V4, no spotlight, and how much it improved? Let me take a look real fast because I thought I had that image. I feel really bad that I don't have that image in my test set because I absolutely did test that the other night. But what's neat about this is all of my cameras are on the Cam Plus subscription. So here's my pitch for Cam Plus. Take it or leave it. Wyze makes incredibly budget-friendly cameras that were down to as low as $15. I picked a ton of V3 PTZ cameras, the pans, when they were on a super duper sale. And I don't feel bad about it. It was a great deal and I would do it again. But if you're going to do that, we have to support them another way because you just can't develop a groundbreaking product like this. Again, if you look up here, and I'll point them out here to you guys. But if you look up there, I've got a wall of cameras. I got a wall of cameras back here. I've got every vendor out there that's approaching me at least twice, 3 times a week that has put their version of a camera out. And I've shown you several of them, and several of them have very unique features, but nobody has done it like Wyze has. They don't have an ecosystem. I counted the other day, and I don't know if I'm right or not. I think there's about 16 different Wyze cams if you add them up. That'll be a bonus question in the chat. If you go in there to the Wyze app, how many Wyze cameras can you see on there? I'm going to take a look at the events. I'm just going to look real quick at my event view and see if I actually have the V4 footage that you were asking about. I'm going to check my 2 V4s and I'm going to check for yesterday. So I'm actually now, I can show you a little bit here on what I'm looking at on the phone. So I'm actually here looking at my history. There was me installing that stuff from yesterday. It has actually recorded it all to the cloud. I was working late last night. So that was, I'm looking through that footage. And I did have one outdoor. I've got some great outdoor videos of the kids. I do have it plugged into a socket. So let's talk about accessories while I'm getting to this one. So the Wyze socket, if you have that, I told you that in the beginning of the show, it is compatible with this. So if I wanted to put one of these on my front porch where I already have my Wyze socket, instantaneous, I just plug it in, turn it on, and I'm good to go. So that can be really cool. Actually, you know what? I want to test one thing. I can play back a video here and just show you that one feature that I was running into. Wow, I picked like the most boring of videos to show you, but let me show you this. I was working in my shop. Now, if I pick my nose, don't get mad. But this was me working in my shop the other night, and I was trying to test out this device. It's supposed to be full screen, but you'll see there's been a little bit of banding, some color banding, and that's the LED lights in my shop. For some reason, we're throwing the camera off. It's not the end of the world, and I'm sure they're going to figure out whatever frequency that is. But that was happening, so I wanted to share that with you. Let me look here on Saturday, Sunday, and I've got to go way back in the calendar because this thing was recording all day. I want to see. how far back it goes to see if I have that night vision. That's a great question that came in. You know what? I don't see it in here. That's too bad. Unfortunately, I don't see it. I did have them all stacked on top of each other. And you know what? Maybe it was the gray one. Let's see if maybe it was the other night when I did that. Let's see if it has it. No, I don't see it on that one. Shoot, it's not available. Sorry, guys. Again, we will find that here in the future. I'm going to take a quick look at the chat. American, thank you for joining. He says, finding Mimo. There's one in every bunch, you guys. I'm telling you. No, but Mimo, multi-in, multi-output. That's your Wi-Fi technology. There's the band, there's the protocol, and then there's the radio channels, antennas, MIMO. So all those things, you got to look at that. And then, oh, it says block user. I don't know if I want to do that. No, I'm going to bring up American's other question. It says, how mallard duck proof would you say these are? You're going to have to let me know, American. Are mallard ducks like very aggressive with things? I know they're not bunny proof. I've lost a lot of cords to bunnies lately because of my daughter. And Jonathan says, this may answer some users. This V3 cam's mine, but is it worth the upgrade from V3 to V4? Just to point out here, those who have the same cam as mine. Thank you. Great question, Jonathan Talks Hardware. If you have a V2, it's a no-brainer upgrade. If you happen to have one of the Pan V3s, fantastic camera, less field of view, but it has the pan capability. So I like that. So you can actually field of view 360 degrees because you'll look all the way around. So if you've got a Pan V3, keep it. I love that camera. It's one of my products of the year. If you have a Wyze Cam V2, like say one of these ones, I think they discontinued the V1 for sure. And I'm not sure if they've actually discontinued the V2 already. Absolutely upgrade. If you happen to have a Blink camera from their competitor, toss that thing. I don't know. I don't have a garbage that I can throw safely into. Toss that thing and get a Wyze V4. If you happen to have a Pro, the image clarity. Now, they said this earlier on the show, and I'm not going to disagree with him because it's all speculative as to, this situation or that situation. They said that the V4 has one of, if not the most accurate sensor of all the cameras they've got. And that's true. For the field of view that you're getting, for the pixel density, it's got one of the best pictures I've seen, and because of the wide dynamic range. So they match on pixel density, but the V3 Pro, I don't know how much longer this is going to be in their market because they put so much products into this one. The other thing is, if you're using these for security, it's another no-brainer. So you can take the V3 with the spotlight add-on that you had to pay extra for. You can ditch that and you can go with a single camera with an integrated spotlight, continuous recording on here, and cloud backed up recording with the Cam Plus subscription. And you can do that all for the $35.98 right now. And take a look around for links, but you might even get a better deal. So, but you can do all of that with this camera. This, I think, is going to replace the V3. I can't really see a reason to go back to the V3s. I think this is a natural evolution. I'll go back to my Twitter, and I'm gonna show you just a summary of what I talk to people on Twitter about, because I was responding to a couple people here. Let me go see if I've got that one. Give me 1 second. I got to go to my replies. So if you're not following me on Twitter, I put a lot of behind the scenes stuff out real quick here. And one of them, yeah, I can actually I put my raw data out here. So if you're interested in seeing that kind of stuff, so this is how I did the Wi-Fi range test. So I was doing those at different intervals, and this is the actual screen from the range test. And what you'll see here is, even though at the very lowest signal that it had for the Wi-Fi V4, Cam V4 on Wi-Fi 4, it was still passing 58 megabits, and it said the AP client balance was good. So it still thought it had a good signal, even though it was right at the very edge. Do you ever talk about home network security equipment, certain routers and such? That was a question from Drewville. I absolutely do. And I owe Wyze to talk about their routers. The first firmware, I didn't put my video out because it wasn't ready yet. I didn't think that was fair with the 1.0 firmware. But I do love to talk about routers. I'm a big Unify fan. So you saw that, screenshot if you're watching on YouTube also. But I'm a huge Unify fan. So that question came in on the Tic Tac, as I call it. But what I was looking for is just a quick summary that I gave somebody. And, they were saying that, and I try not to go back and forth, but let me go back here. Okay, let me go back. So this was the thread that I had with another creator out there. I think it was another creator at least. It says, from the example shown, the resolution doesn't look that much better, he says. Don't care about the spotlight. It's a camera. Don't care about two-way audio. No one is talking to my camera. Compatibility with legacy. What devices? Motion warnings is new. Oh, hey, I just remembered something that I hadn't shown you guys yet. Another cool feature. Just to remember, this, just because you may not be getting the feature in the camera, a lot of people have said, why don't they have 4K? Why don't we have 4K in our cameras yet? Why isn't this camera $100 then? Because honestly, I don't have a 4K camera in here that's less than $100, at least that's legitimate. I would rather have the wide dynamic range, and I want them to turn their compression way down because they still compress the snot out of video in Wyze. But I would rather have that than 4K. 2.5K. Reolink makes a lot of security equipment that was 2.5K and it lasted for years. It's still been really good. Even at 4K, you're not going to do the enhance zooming like you see on CSI. So that's not. One interesting thing that this camera has a feature, and then it's only I've seen it in the Floodlight V2 so far, is that when it sees somebody, so from a security aspect, if that's what you're looking for this camera for, when it sees somebody, it will wake up and can play the Wyze tone, that did. You can hear that tone just coming out of the camera. So somebody sees it and it's like, oh, okay, there's something there. It's not obtrusive, not whatever. Or I believe it says like, you're being recorded. It's like, oh, okay. So if you have this on a back shed and somebody's walking around your house and it says you're being recorded and the spotlight comes on, super cool security deterrent. It has the lighting capability on the V3 with the spotlight, which was $10 more, but it has that built in now, and it has the audio for the motion warning. So that's another big thing. Legacy device support. It does not support the garage door opener from Wyze. They said this morning. I was kind of sad about that, but honestly, I don't use it. And thanks, Drewville. He's giving me tons of likes on the live. Awesome. Thanks. Hopefully I answered your question right. Now, the better two-way audio, I don't have a really good way to test that here in the studio right now, but I will, in the full video, give you a full audio test. From my understanding and talking to the Wyze people that I know, that is the thing that they are most proud of on a lot of really good upgrades on this camera. So that's another good thing. And then, like we said, clarity and wide dynamic range is unbelievable. See the examples below. And I kind of shared early some of the shots below. Well, they just went away on there. But yeah, I showed a little bit early some of the differences between wide dynamic range and having detail in the cabinetry versus having them blown out. Being able to see individual tiles from 30 feet away versus seeing kind of a blur of tiles, which is what you got with the V3. So V3 was still a great camera. Answering your question, Jonathan Talks Hardware. Yeah, if you had a V3, I would keep it for a while. It's still going to be a great camera. If you saw the need for maybe the security feature of the built-in spotlight and you didn't have a built-in spotlight, give the V3 to a friend. You can give these away as gifts to somebody and get yourself a little bit of an upgrade, and the price is there. So, oh my gosh. Yeah, Circuit Rewind checks in. Another great channel if you guys want to check him out. American, even without John reading your screen name, I could tell you were in the chat by those questions. Yeah, only one I know has a mallard duck. So, and then Jonathan says, I was thinking about buying the V3 pan so I can put it around the kitchen or living room, my new apartment, once my dad finishes building me one. Awesome. Great to hear you're getting your own apartment. That is awesome, Jonathan. Big rite of passage there. Let me know when you do. I have a couple of V3 pans here that could find a home down to you, man. I love your work. Great stuff and great to hear. So that in general is, let me pull that out of the way. That in general is the overview of this product. I'm going to take one quick gander at all the chats one more time. I don't want to take up all your evening here. We've been live for almost an hour talking about what is a very unique camera and a very unique opportunity to evolve, let's say, from a V3, which was really a game-changing camera for the industry. It put all the competitors on notice that if you wanted to sell an IP camera in the $30 price range, it better be waterproof. It better have a micro SD slot. It needs to be at least 1080. You got to have that Starlight night vision sensor in it. So they set the bar super high already. And guess what? It's actually okay. I'll give away the thing in my video that I talk about, but the only competitor to Wyze is another Wyze Cam, and they've done that. They're competing with the Pro with this. They're competing and replacing, I believe, all the things that you would want a V3 for, and they're doing it at exactly the same price, which if you've shopped for anything these days, water, milk, eggs, gasoline, cars, used cars, anything, everything's up 10, 20, 30%. The manufacturing costs are up 10, 20, 30%, but they've been able to keep the price on this down. I'm going to hit the Amazon page one time just because I feel obligated to. Give me 1 second. I got to bring my browser up here. I didn't put the rolling ticker that I usually put at the bottom. If you do want to pick one of these up from Amazon, I would absolutely recommend it. I'm going to put the rolling ticker up here just so you can see it. And if you're watching on Amazon and you want to hit that follow link, they quit putting us on the product pages, which makes it really hard for me to grow and get new followers and get on the A list. But if you're still watching there, that would be awesome. This is the Idealist. It's the V4 Live. I have the V4 camera here, and I have the Cam V3 right here as well, and they are at the exact same price. So if you had a choice, go with the newest model here. You're not going to be really giving up anything. The only thing I would say that is maybe a negative, and it's only for certain people, is the field of view is 10 degrees smaller, maybe 15 degrees at most. But in most cases, you're going to make up for that. It will also run with the floodlight and most of these other accessories, has all the same wonderful cloud storage and other features. It is IP65 dust and water resistant there. So it's going to be able to be put outside, which a lot of their competitors cannot say. It is not necessarily going to read license plates from across the street, but if you pull up to there, you're going to see a license plate. You're going to be able to read it. The color night vision is enhanced. I would say if we look at the cameras and we compare them, the saturation is definitely bumped up on this. So it's got really good dynamic range and the saturation came up. Spotlight and siren, and you are currently being recorded motion activated alerts, which is cool. So somebody said, well, they've got motion alerts before. They have motion alerts for you. They didn't have motion alerts for the people that it's recording or you're seeing. So you can do that. I don't even know if you can set a custom one. It would be kind of cool. I think you can. I haven't looked at that feature because it is so new. It does have the 24/7 recording to the micro SD card capability. You can use up to a 512 gigabyte right now on this one. I know they used to be 256 on the others. I don't know if that's going to get changed in firmware, but I know at least for this one, you can do that. The two-way audio, I've used this with the Pan V3 in my kids' room. I've had that. Unfortunately, they're getting old enough now that we got to put the cameras away. They can't have them in their rooms. So, as they graduate, they get the bed and all that. So we're not going to have those cameras anymore. But it has been great to be able to talk to the cameras and basically say, get off of your sister, quit jumping off the top bunk of the bunk bed. Yeah, they do that. Things like that. And just to make sure they're up there. Looking real quick, it does have the Wi-Fi 6 connection support. Now, Wi-Fi 6 doesn't, again, it changes airtime fairness. It changes a few other things. It doesn't necessarily make the range specifically longer that I know of, but it's something that if you do have a lot of devices, it is going to play nicer with the other devices. I know that for sure here. It's still a 1x1 MIMO, so it's one input, one output as far as the Wi-Fi that I saw. It is going to work with all of your home devices. It's kind of funny. I have my sign up here. I don't know if I can see if I can do this. Let me see. I'll try to do one test. I've never done this before. I'll see if I can do it live. I got to find one of the cameras. We're doing the V4 tonight, but let me see if I can find one of my cameras to be able to show you. One of my outdoor ones, maybe. And where is this? Show me the driveway light, right floodlight. Maybe we'll get this. Here we go. Show me the driveway right floodlight. This may work. It may not. Oh, here we go. So my sign actually has the Home Assistant that shall not be named from Amazon, the Echo devices. And I'm going to try to connect right now live to one of my outside cameras. I didn't plan on doing this, but I just wanted to show you that you have that capability. Another thing that you have is the view.wyze.com, that URL. They do have their online stuff. You know, I've never done this on this TV. I know that there's many, many ways to do this. It's going to take its sweet time. Show me the backyard. So let's see if it'll do that camera. I was just loading that camera up. We'll see if the stuff is connected through. If everything's working right, I should be able to see my backyard. There we go. So this is a TV that I use as a backdrop, a digital sign. I'm actually able to show stuff on it. So now you can't PTZ with it. You can't do whatever. Technically, there's nobody in the backyard right now. So we'll return back to the sign here. But that's the neat thing about it is if you have a television, you have a smart device, with just about anything, you can use them to show your different cameras, and that's definitely supported in this. There's even some cool tricks if you have the Echo. I'm going to call her. If you have an Echo Show, you can even write a script that if somebody walks up to your front door, it turns on the cameras, turns on the camera on other devices. So you'll be able to see them even if they don't push the doorbell or do that. So you can do some really cool if this then that integration. So I just wanted to share that with you. I'm going to take a look at the last look at the chat, and we will go from there. Mark, you just showed up right at the end. Thank you so much for joining in. And Mike Root, a friend of mine, relative, I'll be watching. Thank you so much. So next week, we got some really cool stuff coming. I have some neat stuff. Those shades that I showed you I was putting in. I've got a bunch of cool electronics that are coming. So I want to show you that. I'm going to be doing some neat stuff. And, oh, it's still here. We're going to be talking solar next week. And I know it's starting to get sunny in more of the country. This is a nice 50-watt solar panel. You know, we talked about the Wyze Cam power draw of this thing being 1.5 watts on average. So if you've got a 50-watt solar panel, 1.5 watts, you get 5 hours of sun a day. Let's say that's 250 watts on average. You could run this thing for, what, 100 days? You know, at least 100 days off just the power from one day of solar. That's how efficient these things are. So very cool. But yeah, we'll have that show coming next week. Will Apple HomeKit, this is a question from Jonathan Talks Hardware. Another question some people may ask, will Apple HomeKit work with the Wyze cams? You know what? I don't know on that one. I know it works with Google, and I know it works with the Amazon equivalent and the IFTT. I don't know about HomeKit. I have not heard. So if you're in the chat, let my friends know there if you're using it with HomeKit. I do know that Wyze was investing in the Matter system, so I think that's where they're trying to be compatible. And Ron Moore says, I do that with my Fire TV sticks. I can call up my voice up on cams or just use remote. Yeah, this one I had to disable because I have 2 of those Echoes in here, but I'm surprised we did that live and I was able to show you a camera that's in here on that screen. So that quickly you can look at your security cameras. You don't always have to have your phone. I've used these cameras with the kids before, again, both ways. We used them as a baby monitor for years. If you want a low-cost baby monitor, that was a really cool solution. Set up your Wyze Cam, set up your phone, turn the volume down, a little bit down, so you could definitely listen. I put my phone on mute, and then, it wasn't making any sound that direction, but it was a poor man's baby monitor. So I want to thank you guys all for tuning in. Like I said, I'll invite you next week to check out my show about solar and batteries and terminals. I'm trying to look to see if I have one of my favorite new tools. I don't have it down here because I was using it upstairs, but I have a really cool new toolbox that you're going to want for doing any sort of electrical or RV work. And I am going to be at PDX Land here in a couple of weeks. I'm getting all my computers. I've got a couple gaming machines sitting over there I got to throw together. I'm going to have all my computers. It's a big charity event down in Vancouver, Washington. So if you guys want to meet me in person, come up to me there. It's the guy with the long beard. Well, not as long as some of the beards you'll see down there, but yeah, that would be in PDX Land in Vancouver, Washington. I'll be at that event. So thank you guys all for tuning in. I'm going to catch you guys all in the next one, and I'm going to say bye to the folks on TikTok. You guys have been great. I apologize. I don't have a person to answer just all those questions, but I did catch a couple. So thank you guys that have tuned in on TikTok. And if you are looking on any of those services, make sure you hit that subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit that follow, and let me know if you want me to do some more giveaways in the future. Amazon's really stringent about giveaways. I don't want to lose my Amazon account, so I don't do them. But if there's a way for me to do a giveaway in the future and you'd like to be able to be part of that, let me know about that as well. And I will catch you guys all in the next one. See y'all later. Bye, guys. Adios. Now I got to figure out how to cancel TikTok. So here we go. Power down. I think that's the button. Adios. Bye, viewers. See you next time. Thank you.